You know, across America tonight, more than 114,000 people, enough to fill 2 football stadiums, are waiting for a donor organ.
A one Chicagoland family whose little boy survived the wait has now had a second wish come true, the opportunity to personally thank the family their child has given a gift of life. More on the story right now from WGN's Monica Schneider.
He's resilient. We can learn a lot from children with defects.
Not yet 9 months old, little Ferris Samara has been through a lot. 2 surgeries to try and fix the defective heart he was born with.
It's been a very long road, and we've been back and forth to the hospital quite often, where my son has spent half of his life, pretty much in the hospital.
The road became longer a month and a half ago when Ferris' parents were told their baby needs a heart transplant to survive, meaning for Ferris to live, another baby must die.
At first I wasn't for sure if I was quite ready or not yet, but I think I am. I think I'm really excited because I want to see him grow up, and I think I'd rather meet him now when he's little and watch him grow up than to meet him when he's already grown.
Well, it's absolutely staggering. It's heartbreaking. It says something terrible about our society where we would abuse and injure so many kids each and every day in this country. We're better than that.
It's so interesting when you see a child that has suffered from child abuse when they're in the hospital, because nobody talks when you go into the room. And if you talk, it's almost like everybody is in a whisper. Because it's so hard to take in what you see, to look at a child that's been beaten, you're thinking about their medical treatment, but you're also thinking about how did this happen? And how are some children put in homes with love and caring and everything that they've ever needed, and some children are in homes where they're beaten and neglected. And that's really difficult to deal with.
I think the stats speak for themselves. This is a problem that is everywhere. I think anyone who looks at this problem and says this doesn't occur in my family or my community or my group is wrong. It is everywhere in the state of Kentucky, and it's everywhere in the United States.
Abuser can be anybody. There's no phenotype for an abuser. It crosses all racial lines, all socioeconomic lines, all educational lines. So there is no typical picture of an abuser. If there was, it'd be so easy to say, okay, yeah, you're the abuser, we can put you in jail or keep you away from children. But that's not what you're gonna see. It's gonna be someone that looks like you and me.
Matthew was a family friend. I've known him pretty much my whole life. Him and my brother were very close friends. He would go to the lake with us. He would come over to the house. He helped my brother deliver wood because my parents sold firewood on the side. And pretty much that's how I became friends with him. He wasn't Carly's dad, but he would help me do things for Carly. Like, he would just play with her and interact with her and stuff so I could study for my finals. So, I mean, he would just do little things to help me out, too. It wasn't just like I was doing all for him. Carly loved him. I mean, it was like he treated her as if she was his daughter, and she reacted to him as if that was her dad.
The injuries received from him actually, from what he described, as shaking the baby and also slamming or throwing the baby down on the ground.
That's what 20-year-old Matthew Vaughn, who never made it past the 10th grade, told a Metro detective while the little girl was on life support at Kosher Children's Hospital. His attorney tried to get the statement tossed, saying police took advantage of Vaughn's youth, lack of education, and emotional state.
When a baby is shaken, they can become limp. They can stop breathing. It doesn't take long for their heart to stop beating. In some cases, their brain swells so much that it actually causes damage to the brain afterward.
They don't have the neck muscles to hold their head steady like adults do. And the brain's kind of like underset jello in babies. So it's real kind of wobbly, and it's in fluid, and there's a little bit more space to move around. And so when they're shaken, it goes back and forth and bangs against the skull.
It's widely variable, but it's never good. You know, at best you get some collections of blood on the outside of the brain which almost certainly have an effect. It's just not as profound. The babies get better, they go back to doing what they were doing, but you can't have a large amount of blood sitting on the outside of the brain without, sort of in common speak, losing a couple of neurons.
Raising a child is a very stressful experience. The children can at times have uncontrolled episodes of crying, and you put that with a physically exhausted, emotionally challenged, financially stressed mother. It can be just a combination of issues that at any time can explode into a situation that has all the right ingredients of child abuse.
It's generations of, they think they were raised that way. That's all they know. It just goes back from generation, generation, generation. And we're trying to break that cycle. We're trying to get that one child.
Parents aren't able to stop themselves in the heat of the moment. They're not, all parents get frustrated, but they're not able to distance themselves from that emotion.
Vast majority of the time it does not have to do with the child's behavior so much as the parent's coping ability and their lack of ability to take a breather or walk away from the situation or learn new skills or tools to handle behaviors that can be challenging with kids. And so I think it's really a lot of internal issues of the parent, and they're taking out their issues on someone who's more vulnerable, smaller, less powerful, and maybe they're proving to themselves that they think that proves that they're powerful if over someone else.
Many times, though, the baby is not just shaken because the perpetrator is so angry with this baby and shaking this baby so violently that you or I would think that the person shaking is going to kill this child. They do not place a child down and cover them with a blanket. The majority of cases involving shaken are slammed or thrown against a hard surface, and there is also an impact injury secondary to the shaking event. Along with the shaking, bones can be fractured, ribs can be fractured from the intense grasp of the perpetrator. So many, many, many injuries can occur from one shaking event.
He admitted to dropping her into her crib at approximately 3 foot high. He admitted to slamming her on the floor. Pretty much shaking her, holding her up and shaking her. Pretty much treating her as if she was a baby doll. I didn't know what was wrong because from my understanding, she was fine just a couple hours ago. So I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if something happened, if she fell or what. I was pretty much directed to the chaplain room in the ER part. Well, then finally the ER trauma doctor came in along with 2 detectives, and that's when I got what had really happened. They said that she had some broken bones. And at first, when they said a head injury, I was like, well, maybe she slipped and fell and stuff. And then they said, when they told me that it was worse, the detectives asked me who she was with that day. And then I knew he did something to her.
At the beginning of the police interview, Vaughn admitted to nothing, saying, "I've been honest with you." But later on, Vaughn stated he shook the child, she hit her head on the baby bed, and on the bathroom floor. All that occurred at a trailer in this mobile home park in Fairdale. Vaughn then tells the detective, "I'm sorry I wasn't honest with you earlier."
I think this person who has no parental bond with a child, it doesn't have that, that kind of long-developed love for that child, hasn't spent 9 months thinking about this child coming, and so when that child is crying and out of control or having toilet training accidents, and that person doesn't have that bond, that kind of might stop them from causing injuries. Yeah, some people say don't leave your child with anyone you wouldn't trust with your wallet. And I think that is one way to look at it, but there are cases where people have been with individuals for months or years, and they might trust them with their wallet, but if they have a violent temper, if they've been violent towards the mother, if they've had prior violent episodes, I think you may trust them with their wallet more than you would trust them with your child.
Had I thought for 1 second, 1 minute, 1 ounce that anything like this could ever happen, she would have never been in that situation. She would have never been in that home. Kara wouldn't even have been in that home. I would have yanked her out of it. Never, not one red flag. That's the hardest thing for me to deal with, because there was no red flags. There was nothing. Nothing. And that's the hardest thing.
They have told me that because of this happened, it's not my fault. I wasn't there. That I had nothing to do with this. He is total blame for it. That things will get better. No, it don't. It does not get better. It's hard. It's hard when Christmas comes. It's hard when the holidays come. Because you don't get to play Santa Claus. You don't get to play the Easter Bunny. A lot of these things people think don't mean anything, that they're fake anyways. They mean a lot. I really never got to play Santa Claus. She was 3 months old on Christmas. You know, it's rough.
It is hard, you know. It's sometimes I sit by myself and just think about the other family, you know, the people they're gonna give us the heart.
At the one side, a family is grieving so much, but out of their grief, they can make a huge gift and a chance at survival for another child.
Sadly, up to 40% of infants waiting for a new heart die before they can get one. Ferris is currently one of more than 40 babies under the age of 1 nationwide who are in need of a heart. And when it comes to getting a heart for young Ferris, the staff here at Children's is willing to go a long way, all the way to the southern United States, up to the Northeast if necessary, or all the way west to the Rocky Mountains.
We will go up to 4 hours away from the Chicagoland area in order to get a heart for our patients.
Meantime, the waiting and not knowing is tough for the entire Samara family, including 3 older boys, one with autism, who all miss their little brother. As for the Samaras, they say they're just taking things one day at a time and keeping hope alive. Ferris will make it.
What? You don't want to speak?
The call came in where the doctor asked me to sit down. I remember I was actually in the kitchen. I just fell down to my knees and I kept begging the doctor, please do not force this family to do anything that they don't want to do, that they're not ready to do. I just could not live with that burden on my shoulders, or I just could not live with it in my heart to know that I caused so much pain to another family. And all I kept doing is thinking about that mother that's at that bedside, saying goodbye to her child, not knowing who we are, and she's going through so much pain for us. She's going through so much pain to say goodbye to her child for the last time, and she wanted so much, I guess, for her child to live on as an angel.
When I know the story, how this happened, it was hard for me. I keep crying for this little girl, you know, it's because she changed our life. She gave us life. She saved us, you know. Our family was like, in some point, we're going down, you know. We cannot attend with the other children's, you know. We have to be in the hospital. I have to be working. Sometimes I don't see my kids, you know, at home. I don't see my home for a week. Just stay in the hospital around Ferris, and I try to hope for the best. And this little girl, she comes like an angel. She saved us.
Carla went to the hospital on Sunday, and on Tuesday morning, I knew that I was never going to have Carly again. She was either going to pass away or she was going to be at the vegetable state the rest of her life. And I knew that I did not want her to be at the vegetable state. I wasn't going to keep her for my own selfishness. Therefore, I did decide to donate her organs. I didn't want any other kid out there to suffer because they don't have a heart.
We get to see her again through Ferris. We get to feel her heart. Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
It had so much potential for tragedy, and then suddenly there was this new hope when a heart arrived for this baby, and then you still worried.
Hey, no, you were helpful.
And then now moving forward in time to meet the family that was brave enough to donate this heart, and to see all of this, it's just sort of a, I think there's like a real message for anyone in this, that if you're in a horrible place in your life, that there is hope, and somehow it can come full circle. It's not going to mean that there won't be pain, but it can come full circle, and there are also lessons to be learned. And these families are so much about that in terms of advocating for organ donation, in terms of now advocating against child abuse and trying to get education out there. So this story, I think, is huge.
Hey, buddy.
Carly, she lived with us. I know I have a picture of her, but I feel bad for what happened. It's devastating, you know. It's the way things went down. It's not right. It's not fair for any child to go through this direction. Her favorites on our head all the time. We're gonna carry her, and she's our heart now. she's the one keeping Ferris going, so she's with us, honestly.
Oh my gosh.
That's Carly. She's fighting for him.
Oh my God, it's such a beautiful sound.
It's hard, but I know it's worth it. I know because of the decision I made, they don't have to go through a loss of a child like I did. And I was able to prevent a lot of pain for them.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go say hi and give her a hug, okay? Okay.
Child abuse has a face, and it looks like the child who has to hold the hand of an adult to climb stairs, even though she could do it before by herself. But now she can't see. She can't see as well and has to feel around to try to know where she is. It looks like a child who has to live with grandma and grandpa and is really missing her parents, even though she knows that they hurt her. She feels guilty. She wants to know why. What did she do wrong that they would treat her this way?
It just looks sad. It just destroys lives. It devastates caregivers who didn't perpetrate abuse. It destroys the lives of the people who did perpetrate abuse. It destroys the lives of the children. It's a profoundly negative experience.
Not only are we now grieving with either the loss of a child or the loss of a normal child, but there's also the anger and the bitterness that comes into play depending on who the perpetrator was. But understanding the costs just to our society as a whole, medical costs, rehabilitation costs, the cost of prosecuting and having these cases move through the court system, the cost of protecting the other children in the family. The costs are staggering.
When children are gone, you think about the lost potential, what that child could have contributed to society, and the pain that they experienced while they were alive, and you hope that they have rest and peace. They no longer have to suffer.
The other tragic thing about this is about half the kids that we see with devastating injuries has seen some type of healthcare worker within a couple weeks before they come into the hospital with these horrible, devastating injuries. It's always the next case. It's always the next one. To think that we've not been able to stop this, we've not been able to eliminate this, and here's another child that's either neurologically devastated or has injuries so bad that he's not going to make it. And so it just builds. It's that next one that's the worst one.
It is normal to feel frustrated when a baby or young child cries, but no one should ever shake or harm a baby or young child. If you're feeling frustrated or angry, take a break. It's okay to leave the baby in a crib or other safe place while you take a moment to regroup. There are other good sources for more information about resources and child abuse prevention. If you suspect that a particular situation may involve child abuse, contact the appropriate state hotline 24/7. Remember, you can make a difference.